John Terry faced Ronaldo. He faced Messi, Drogba, Torres. Champions League finals, World Cup knockouts, 717 career appearances against the best strikers in the world. But he admitted only one player gave him sleepless nights: Thierry Henry. Everyone assumed it was his pace, the lightning-fast runs down the left wing, the acceleration that left defenders trailing. But that's not what kept Terry awake, because if it was just speed, Terry would have slept fine. Look at these headlines. Fastest player in the Premier League. Lightning pace terrorizes defenses. Speed merchant destroys backlines. But here's the problem with that story. Michael Owen ran faster than Henry. Gabby Agbonlahor clocked better sprint times. Micah Richards was quicker over 40 yards. Speed was everywhere in the Premier League. So if it wasn't speed that made defenders freeze when Henry got the ball, what was it? Jamie Carragher called defending against Arsenal a graveyard shift. Rio Ferdinand said they dedicated entire training sessions just to stopping him. John Terry couldn't sleep, not because of what Henry could do, because of what Henry could see. Watch his eyes. Before the ball even reaches Henry's feet, something's already happened. Watch. His head turns. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. He's scanning, looking at the right back's position, the center back's angle, the goalkeeper's starting position, where the space will open. Most strikers receive the ball, then look, then decide. Henry looked, decided, then received. By the time the ball touched his foot, he'd already processed 4 pieces of information that defenders hadn't even registered yet. Now watch what happens when he's about to shoot. His body shapes one way. His hips rotate toward the far post. His shoulders open. Every piece of body language says far post. But his eyes glance near the post just for a split second, and the goalkeeper sees it. The brain processes it, and the ball goes far post anyway. Ferdinand positioned correctly and still couldn't stop it. Terry anticipated the move and still got beaten because they were reacting to his body. But his eyes had already planted doubt. But here's what nobody tells you. Henry couldn't do this when he arrived at Arsenal. In 1999, Thierry Henry was considered a failed signing. At Juventus, he'd scored 3 goals in 16 games. He was lost. Arsène Wenger moved him from wing to striker, and, in Wenger's own words, retaught him everything. Wenger trained Henry to scan constantly before receiving the ball, to read defensive positioning before the pass even came, to know where space would open before it opened. At Juventus, Henry was reacting to the game. At Arsenal, he learned to read it ahead of time. By his second season, it became automatic. His head is constantly moving, left, right, behind, processing 4, 5, 6 pieces of information before each touch. He wasn't just faster to the ball, he was faster to the information. And that's what defenders couldn't train for. By 2003, something unprecedented started happening in Premier League coaching rooms. At Chelsea's training ground, coaches were setting up drills for one player, not for Arsenal's system, not for their midfield, but for Thierry Henry. The same thing was happening at Manchester United and Liverpool. Every defender knew what he liked to do: drift in from the left, open his body, and curl it into the far corner. They watched it on video all week. They practiced how to stop it. But here's the twist. The more they studied him, the more afraid they became. When you spend days planning for one man, you stop preparing to win. You start preparing not to lose. Every drill reminds you that he's special, that he's a threat. By the time the game begins, you're already on edge. And then Henry breaks everything you've prepared for. At Stamford Bridge, defenders expect a shot, but he flicks a back heel into the net. At Highbury, they expect a run, but he chips the keeper from 30 yards. Against Chelsea, he takes a free kick before the wall is ready. Goal. Every move surprises them. Every touch rewrites the plan. That's when defenders start hesitating. Is he going to do what we studied, or something else? And in that 1-second pause, he's gone. And this is John Terry, one of the greatest defenders England ever produced, saying, "He was the only one I feared going into games. Not respected, not worried about, but feared." Because when defenders looked into Thierry Henry's eyes, they didn't just see a striker. They saw someone who'd already read them, who already knew where they'd be, already calculated their next move before they made it. 228 goals for Arsenal, 4 Golden Boots, 2 Premier League titles. But the real record was the number of defenders who walked off the pitch knowing they did everything right and still lost. Because it wasn't his legs that broke them. It was what his eyes saw 3 seconds before anyone else could see it. People feared his speed. They should have feared his sight.